Hey everyone, and welcome back to Dallas Cowboys coverage after a tough loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to break it all down right here, so let's get right into it. So the Cowboys obviously take the loss in Philadelphia, not the outcome we were hoping for, but you can't win them all, so you still want Cooper Rush to start. I think this game really taught us a lot about the state of the Cowboys, and Cooper Rush is not better than Dak Prescott. I've been saying it this whole time, but I think this has finally proved it to a lot of people that he's just not the caliber of quarterback that Dak Prescott is. He's done a great job, and I have nothing but respect for him. I'll be the first to admit that when Dak went down, I thought the season was over. I didn't think Cooper Rush was going to be able to hold it down until Dak came back, but he was able to do just that. I mean, if you had told me we'd be 4-2, only losing it, or really going 4-1, without Dak, I would have said you're crazy. I mean, I wouldn't have believed it, but here we are. So it was really just a good performance by him overall, leading the team, being that game manager, and now we get to go back to an elite quarterback, a top 10, I'd argue top 7 quarterback. So Dak Prescott, I really do hope he does play. I think he is definitely expected to against the Lions back here at home. So it's gonna be interesting, but it'll be nice to have him back for sure. So obviously not the best game. I mean, the offense just wasn't performing. Obviously, when you throw 3 interceptions, you're putting yourself pretty behind. Penalties were once again an issue after they had kind of it'd been better. There were quite a few, a lot of undisciplined penalties for sure, and I'll talk more about that later. But I just want to focus for now also on the running game because that was good. Ezekiel Elliott had his best game in years. He's my player of the game. 81 yards, averaged over 6 yards a carry, and a touchdown. He really, really performed well, and he always seems to against the Eagles, even against their tough front seven. So it was a great job by Zeke, and this is something that I think is really important because even as we transition back to Dak Prescott, and he can do a lot more than Cooper Rush. I don't want him to just be a game manager, but at the same time, I don't want the Cowboys to get away from some of the simplicity they've installed with Cooper Rush. Obviously, they can do a lot more now, and I'm not saying treat Dak Prescott exactly like you've been treating Cooper Rush, but I'm saying just keep leaning on the run game. Don't feel like you just gotta air raid pass all the time because you have a good running game in Zeke and Tony Pollard. If one of them is on or both of them is on, you're gonna have a really good night or a really good game. So just I don't want the Cowboys to abandon the running game once Dak comes back. Obviously, they can do a lot more with him, but keep the running game installed as just as a secondary or just another. I'm not sure how to say it, but just another proportion to the offense. Be complementary. Be keeping the defenses guessing. Don't stick to the same formula of, maybe a short run and then another run and then now you have to pass deep. Don't be predictable. You have a lot of different things you can do now. Install some play action, some bootlegs. Dak's great on those. So stick to running the football. Just mix it up. Don't run straight up the middle, 2 straight plays. Do some outside runs. Do some jet sweeps with KaVontae Turpin. He's so fast. I don't understand why he's not involved in the offense. There's so much you can do now with Dak coming back. And you've had success with Cooper Rush. So now, if you can really get the passing game going, the running game's there. It's doing good. But if you can really get the passing game to that elite, even not elite, just good level, you have the weapons. You still have CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Noah Brown's emerged. Dalton Schultz will hopefully be able to return. And I believe Dak Prescott can really elevate those players like he has in the past. We've seen Dalton Schultz disappear without Dak Prescott. And so I think he's going to play a huge role in bringing this offense back to maybe not the number one offense in the league, but at least a respectable, I would say, above average offense. So the offensive line play has really, I'd say, impressed me, surprised me a little bit. I mean, you lose Tyron Smith, you lose Connor McGovern, down a lot of starters. It's finally starting to begin to get healthy again. There were some updates on Tyron Smith from Jerry Jones. He spoke on the fan on earlier, and he said that Tyron Smith does have a good chance to return this season, and that he will reportedly play notable football. So it'll be really nice to see him if he does return before the season ends, because Tyler Smith, I would say, has done a good job, but he's still a rookie playing left tackle, and he's definitely had his struggles. So it'd be really nice to solidify him for a possible playoff run, solidify that left tackle position. And you have a lot of options. You have Jason Peters and McGovern were sort of rotating at left guard, which it's worked, so I guess it's fine. And then Tyler Smith there, you have a numbers game now, especially as these guys continue to return from injury. Terrance Steele's been doing a great job. Can't give him enough credit. He's really, really done a good job replacing La'el Collins. So the offensive line, it's been good. It's performed well. Zach Martin, really, as always, even after a bit of a rough week a couple weeks ago. And Tyler Biadasz has continued to show strides to growth at the center position. So the offense, there's a lot of pieces there, and I really think that Dak Prescott can really elevate them. And I just hope that Kellen Moore, Mike McCarthy, and the play calling can make the best decisions for this team and to keep the offense going and make it even better. All right, the defense, it was probably the defense's worst game. This is the first game they allowed over 20 points, but to me, the defense is not to blame here. I mean, you throw 3 interceptions, you're putting your defense in a really bad position. So, while it wasn't a perfect performance, still 4 sacks. The pass rush was still good, especially after Lane Johnson got hurt. But I think the biggest thing is just continuing to crack down on the run defense. I think it was a lot better today, or on Sunday. They really limited Jalen Hurts running, and I think they did a good job containing him. I think Dan Quinn schemed for that, and they really performed well. So, while it wasn't a perfect game, there were some undisciplined penalties. Micah Parsons had the taunting. Trayvon Diggs took off his helmet, got the unsportsmanlike conduct. Just little things like that. Well, they didn't have too much of an impact on the overall result. It's just, things you just got to continue to clean up. So, I think I still give the defense a lot of credit. Dorance Armstrong racked up his 5th sack of the season. He has done a great job replacing Randy Gregory. And I will say, we were really upset about losing guys like La'el Collins, Randy Gregory. But Terrance Steele, Dorance Armstrong, they've really seamlessly replaced them in a lot of ways. So, got to give them a lot of credit for that. And got to give some credit to the front office. It's a rare front office W for keeping Dorance Armstrong, extending him to a team-friendly deal, and he has really outperformed expectations. So just want to give him a lot of credit. The interior was pretty solid, I would say. I think Neville Gallimore maybe got a sack. I could be wrong. But there were just a lot of the more rotation players. Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence didn't record a sack, but a lot of other players did, including Donovan Wilson, who, again, one of the most improved players. He's just been all over the place, and we saw these flashes back in 2020. He just suffered a lot of injuries last year, couldn't consistently be on the field, but he has really gotten back to that form, and even more so this year. So, got to give a lot of credit to Donovan Wilson for what he's done. First of all, filling in for Jaron Kearse, and now just working as that third safety. Malik Hooker, Jaron Kearse also doing a good job. Safety room has been deep. It's been awesome. It's been the best I've seen in a lot of years for the Dallas Cowboys. The corners were fine. Trayvon Diggs was pretty solid in coverage and get burned by anyone, so that you'll take that. The Eagles didn't have the most dominant performance. The first half was rough. But the Cowboys were able to get back in it and only lose by, 9 points? again, you're with your backup quarterback here and going against the best team in the league. Really, I can't be too upset about the performance. Obviously, frustrating to take a loss, especially to Philadelphia, but they they battled. They really showed flashes, and to me, it was an important reality check to see what's going well and what needs to improve, especially as Dak comes back from injury. So, while it wasn't the perfect game, it was far from that for sure. But I think a lot of good things happened, and there was a lot of good learning experiences to take in to the next game and the rest of the season. And we will see the Eagles again on Christmas Eve, so I think the Cowboys will be more than ready for that matchup. And that's going to be a really important one, as was this one for the NFC East. The Giants are somehow 5-1. I still don't trust them. We beat them pretty easily again with Cooper Rush. So I don't know. I'm not completely buying into all that hype, but then again, they're beating the Ravens and the Packers, who have also looked lost. It's been a weird NFL season. I'll just say that. I haven't talked too much on the other NFL teams, but let's just look at the competition in the NFC. Obviously, you have the Eagles on top, but the Bucs are struggling. Their offense is stagnant. The Packers look like a mess without Davante Adams. The Rams have a losing record right now. The 49ers look like they're maybe pretty good, but then they take a loss to the Falcons, and it's like, okay. It's the Vikings are also 5-1 now. I still don't trust them either, though. The NFC is the weakest it's been in a long time, and the Cowboys have a chance to capitalize on that. To me, that's why I was so frustrated this offseason that the Cowboys didn't make any notable moves. Dante Fowler's done a good job, but that's it. I mean, who else? He's the only free agent addition that's made an impact on this team, other than maybe Jason Peters as a late one and Anthony Barr. But it's just so much more could have been done. And I look at the Eagles as a prime example of that. The Eagles were good last year. They made the playoffs, but were eliminated early. They needed some improving to do, and they went out and did that. They traded for AJ Brown. Now you have a number one wide receiver. They signed edge rusher Hassan Reddick. You have a top edge rusher now. They made good trades. They had what, 2 first round picks last year, and they'll have another 2 this year, I think, unless they had 3 last year. I could be wrong. I think they traded down though after trading up. They've put themselves in a position to succeed. And they've recognized that this is a weak NFC, and they have put themselves on top of it. And this is something the Cowboys could just have easily have done, because last year they had a better team than the Eagles did. But the Eagles have really taken the reins and improved their team. Why can't the Cowboys do it? It's frustrating because as of last year, you're better than the Eagles. Dominated them. You just in that last game, they killed the Eagles, But it's frustrating to see them. Well, they've had improvements. Jalen Hurts has done a good job. They went out and made the moves necessary to improve their team. C.J. Gardner-Johnson's another one. They traded for him. He had 2 interceptions last night, or on Sunday night. They've been purposeful about what they're doing. They're making necessary moves to get back to Super Bowl contention, and that's what they've done. I still think the Cowboys have a lot of potential, but they could be so much better. If you didn't trade Amari Cooper for a 5th round pick, I'd feel so much better about the offense, just having another dynamic receiver. But it goes beyond just the moves they've made. What frustrates me the most is they have all this cap space, and it's just sitting there. They have over $20 million in cap space just there, unused. That doesn't make sense to me. Their argument is they're saving it to pay Parsons or Diggs or CeeDee Lamb, but that's a future problem. The Cowboys need to stop worrying about future problems and work on and figure out what they need to do right now. If that's the case, why didn't you cut Amari Cooper this offseason? If you're not going to use the money yet, it doesn't make sense. The Cowboys are so so focused on saving money, but it's not put to good use. You have all this money and it's just sitting there doing nothing. It doesn't make sense. The Cowboys could have improved so much more this offseason. They didn't. And that's frustrating to me. But even such, they're still performing well. So got to give the players and the coaches, McCarthy, I got to give him a lot of credit for keeping this going, without Dak Prescott. The Cowboys, to me, are right now the second best team in the NFC, just behind the Eagles, and I think we can catch them for sure. Again, you only lost by 9 points. You made an incredible comeback. All this with without Dak, with your backup quarterback who threw 3 interceptions. This Cowboys team is very good and is one of the teams to beat in a admittedly weak NFC, but the Cowboys have a lot of potential right now, especially with Dak Prescott returning. This team can be scary. This team can get it done. And while it's frustrating that the Cowboys haven't done more to improve their team, they're in a good place right now, regardless. So, as frustrating as that is, and I just wanted to speak on that, especially just after seeing what the Eagles have done. But for now, let's put that aside. There's nothing they can do about that anymore. Now let's just focus on improving every week. Maybe you make a trade at the deadline. I think that's something you should look into because your team is right there. On paper, maybe it doesn't even look as good as it did last year, but it's playing well, it's performing well, and you are in a weak conference right now. You gotta take advantage of that. It's the Eagles right now. The Bucks and Packers, Rams, 49ers, they're not ready. They're not playing very well. You're better than them right now, and you don't have Dak Prescott. That is amazing to think about, and it gives me new hope for the first time in a long time that the Cowboys can truly and finally, for the first time in my life, make a deep playoff run, advance past the NFC divisional round. I have hope, and I hope that they can continue to improve, continue to be better, and get it done when it matters. So, thanks for listening to that. I think that's just really important to get out. And for now, I just want to speak on some injuries, some updates on that front, and then we'll finish this one up. So, first of all, I want to talk about. I already spoke on Dak Prescott. I think he does play next week. I think he's expected to have a full practice, full go on Wednesday. We'll see that, and that'll really determine if he plays or not. To me, I think he looked good. He looked good in warm-ups in Philadelphia. I think this is a game he returns. So Dalton Schultz is a different one. He's really up in the air. I found it strange what happened last week. Obviously, re-aggravated that PCL injury he suffered earlier in the season, but didn't carry an injury designation. And then all of a sudden before the game, it's like, oh no, he's not playing, which is fine. I didn't fully expect him to, but it was strange that he was carrying no injury designation, and then all of a sudden he's not playing. So his status is very much up in the air. Jerry Jones spoke to that also on the fan earlier. So we'll see about him. He's questionable. So to me, just Dalton Schultz is a good player. Let's not forget what he did last year. And he did that with Dak Prescott. Do I think they should give him a big contract this offseason? No, probably not, because Jake Furgeson and Peyton Hendershot have filled in, and they've done a good job too. It hasn't been that notable of a drop-off that's worth, $12, $13 million contract. So, but let's not forget what Dalton Schultz has done. And if you can maybe just let him get healthy, let him reestablish his chemistry with Dak Prescott, he can have a good game. Because, he had more yards in week 1 with Dak Prescott than the rest of this year combined. So, he's still a good player. But Dak Prescott elevates him, like I was saying earlier, to a whole new level. So, Dalton Schultz can still make an impact for sure. Whether that means it's just this year and you let him go in the offseason, that's, I think, a very fair discussion to have. But for now, he's on your team. Let's utilize him, But first, let him get healthy. That's the number one option. That's the number one concern for me with Dalton Schultz. I'm continuing. I'm just trying to think. I feel there were some roster moves. I want to speak on that real quick. Simi Fehoko and Rico Dowdle were both placed on injured reserve with their respective injuries. It wasn't really I'm not sure if it was that serious of injuries. They didn't really say a whole lot in exactly what happened on those guys, but they are on injured reserve. That frees up Matt Overton to sign to the actual team. And if I'm not mistaken, you now have a roster spot open on both the practice squad and the active roster. I think so. Because, yeah, so I think you have 2 roster spots open, one on the active roster, one on the practice squad. We'll see how those are filled going into next game. So you saw Malik Davis and Sean McEwen both elevated from the practice squad. We'll see, maybe they sign Malik Davis to the team because as of now you only have 2 running backs. That could be an option, so we'll see on that going forward. I think that's about it. So the Cowboys, once again, obviously a tough loss, but they're right there. Even though they're third in their own division, they're still, I would say, probably the second best team in the NFC. You have the Vikings and the Giants, obviously, record-wise ahead of you, but I think they can handle business when they play them both later this season. They've already done it against the Giants. I think they can do it again. And remember, all this has been without Dak Prescott. We saw it on full display, last on Sunday, how much they really miss Dak Prescott. If he plays that game, I think you win convincingly against the Eagles, the undefeated Eagles, so Dak Prescott, can't wait to have him back. I think this was a reality check. That's my word for the game. 2 words, I guess, reality check, because a lot of people were really on that Cooper Rush hype train, and it was rush hour for these past few weeks. He did a great job. I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but he is no Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is a franchise quarterback, and you're about to get him back. And you performed well without him. You performed well with a backup quarterback. And now you have an elite quarterback coming in. This team, the best is yet to come. And I can't wait to see what they can continue to do into the rest of the season. They have 2 very winnable games coming up against the Lions and Bears. Oh my. So I hope they can take care of business, go strong, 6-2 into the bye week. That would make me very happy. You have a tougher schedule coming up, but again, nothing the Cowboys can't handle. So let's keep this rolling. Let's hope Dak Prescott can return both to the game and to form, because we know what he's capable of. So I just want to see that on full display. This team can really be exciting. So thanks again for watching. I will see you guys next week, and go Cowboys.